Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 3 of the 2024 tax year SLIPS filing webinar series. My name is Sarka Hojda, CPA, CGA, and Senior Product Manager with TaxCycle. Today's agenda is going to cover preparing a T2200 form or forms using the RC18 form to calculate automobile benefits and how to add that onto an employee's T4, creating a T4 with a reduced EI slips, using the T4 slip reconciliation, which we did talk about in part 2, but I'm going to review again here. Same with using dynamic slip summaries, and then using SlipSync with a T1 return. I'll show you how that works. We'll talk a little bit more about custom templates and completing and locking the file. So jumping into the demo, which you'll see in, I believe it's your media window, I have a T4 open here. So it's not the one that I was using in part 2, but a carried forward version that hasn't been filed yet for Brenda's blinds. And I've only included a handful of employees here just to make it easier to navigate for the webinar. So the first thing we're going to talk about is creating a T2200. So on the info work page, so info under identification, if we scroll down under the T4 section, there are default fields you can add to each new slip. And one of them here is creating a T2200 form for every new slip that you create. So I can set this to yes here. And you'll see that I got a review message over here that my settings on these slips don't match now the default that I've created here. So I can go ahead and just check that off just to clear that review message on this side. Now, if I go into the side menu here and I scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there are none showing. I did turn on Quebec as well, so you can see that the corresponding Quebec form is also available here. In order to make that work now, because I already had pre-existing T-slips in here. If I were to create a new one, it would show that automatically checked by default. But because I had pre-existing slips in here already, I need to come in one by one and just change this value to yes. And then you'll see down here, it's created the corresponding slip that's for this particular employee. So I can do that for everybody. If I just go through here and quickly update everyone. And you'll see because Chantal in my employee list is from Quebec, Chantal also got created for a TP643, which is the Quebec version of the form. And so now everybody has a T2200. If I go in here now, I can manually complete this and issue them this way. They will this T2200 will show in the print set with the employee T4 copies, or as a separate print set you can run for just the T2200s. If you have a lot of these to complete, it might be more efficient to create an Excel template. And we did that in the first webinar of the series, but I'll just refresh your memory. You go up to data, and as long as you have at least one slip selected, and it has at least one piece of information in one of the fields, you can get this create Excel template. And then you would just select all of the fields that you want to include in your Excel template. Click OK. And then you can go ahead and save that. And when you open it up, it will look a lot like the T4 slips Excel template. And you just go across and you can create one row and copy them down if you have a bunch that are going to be the same. The only difference here is that we don't really have a great key to match the import on. So for slips, we can match based on the social insurance number, but for the T2200, we don't have that information on the form. So you'd have to match using probably the first and last name, or not create the slips from the T4 and just do your Excel import and import everything that you've created in your Excel import file. So that's one method. Another method is this year in the T4 module, if you've created one form, so for example, if we fill out some of the information here on the T2200, let's see there. I'm just going to do the first section just so you get an idea. So we'll say no for this section. For commission, we'll say that they didn't have to rent an office. We'll say no here. We'll say they needed a cell phone and we made them work from home. And we'll say yes there. And let's say we gave them some sort of allowance. I'm not going to put in an amount because I'm going to assume that this is going to be the same for all of my employees. So I'll just say maybe this is some sort of office allowance that they get. And I did report that on the T4 slip. So I won't fill out the rest, but just to give you an idea of how that works. Now I have the basic information on the one form. I can select right click and I can smart copy this year. And I can go to another employee. And if I right click on that employee, I can paste. And you'll see that the employee information doesn't get updated, just the details on the form the way it should. And because I left the amount blank, I can just update the specific information for that one employee amount and everything else will be the same. And then I can just continue, right click, paste to my other employees. And then all my 2200s are done once I enter those amounts. So that's just one way you can do it, or with the Excel import, you can choose whatever's going to work best for you based on the file that you are preparing at the time. So once those are done, as I mentioned, you can go to print, and in here in the employee copy of the T4 slips, we should see the T2200 forms. Now I did notice one quirky thing here is that because it's not picking up the indexing for all of them, they are all there. So if I clicked on this link up here to show files that aren't selected, I'll see them all and then I can select them. And then everything is available to print as part of my employee copy. And then I believe we have separately a T2200 option to just print those on their own as well. All right, so next we want to talk about the RC18 form, which is what you can use to calculate automobile benefits for your employees. So if you've determined that they have what CRA would define as an automobile, not just a motor vehicle, then this is the form that you can use to determine what that benefit will be. And we can trigger that in the same way. So I've gone back to my employee Brenda, and now I can select to create an RC18 for this employee. And you'll see that, I'm just going to collapse some of these to make it easier to see the side nav. That will fall under worksheets. So there's my RC18 for Brenda. And then I can go ahead and complete the information required here. So we're going to have a standby charge, we're going to have some operating expenses, and we're going to take into account any amounts that the employee has paid back to us against those personal benefit amounts that are getting included. If it's a leased vehicle, you have to fill out the detailed calculation, but I'm going to assume that it's not. We'll just make this nice and simple. So we have our standby charge based on the price of the vehicle. And let's say the employee reimbursed me so far, we'll say only $1,500 of that. So now we have our standby charge. And if we scroll down to the operating benefit, let's say they Okay, let's pick the standby charge. Actually, let's make this easy. Let's say they drove 10,000. We're going to use the simplified method, assuming that applies. So now we come down to the bottom. We have a total automobile taxable benefit calculated based on the above form of $10,200. So then we have to go back to, actually, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to Control C to copy that amount, and then go back to Brenda's T4, and I'm going to go find personal use of employer's automobile. So I clicked on the other information. I started typing in auto to get the right code here, and then I'm going to just Control V and paste in the amount of that automobile benefit for Brenda. Now, an important thing to remember here is that we've included it in the other information, but that doesn't automatically update your employment income box. So this now has to get added in there. So we have to add the 125 plus the benefit. And now we've updated the T4. And you can also add a memo here. If I right click and attach a memo, I can just say that we added auto benefit here. Or another way to do this is on my tape, I can include the details, and I can say here, this is salary and this is auto. So that's just some of the additional tools that are available to you so that you can remember that or keep track of and make sure that you've got all of your I's dotted and T's crossed in your file. So now that is the RC18, and we're going to talk next about creating a reduced EI slip for your T4. So for that, I'm going to pick on Jamie, but we'll go back to info first because now we need to enter our reduced EI account number and our reduced EI rate. So we'll go back up here. I'm just going to grab the account from here. I'm going to paste it in this field, and we're going to say this is our program number 2. And then we'll put in our reduced EI rate that was given to this issuer. And again, we have an option here to default all new slips to reduced EI. I'm not going to do that on this one. I'm only going to apply it to Jamie. So if I go to Jamie and I scroll up to this section, you'll see that there's a box over here that says, is this a reduced EI slip? So I can say yes, that I'm going to take this one out of the regular filing and file it with my reduced EI slips if I check this box. Down here, you'll see that a second summary was created for that reduced EI information. That is this one, actually. And if I go to there, you'll see there's my program account number 2. So that's my reduced EI. It's picking up the one slip and the information here. And just like the other summary, I would put in the remittances made to that account number and complete the summary that way. If I go back to Denny, another option here is if I need to create 2 slips, I can uncheck this and I can create a second slip. So you'll see that I got a second slip created here, and I can make this second slip instead the reduced EI slip. So if you've got somebody that is part year on regular EI and then part year qualifies for the reduced EI, you can still file the 2 slips. So if sorry, my computer is lagging. Come on. Okay, I'm just going to do it this way. All right. So if instead this is my reduced EI, that's what it's going to pull into the summary for me. And so if I complete this process and put in the amount of remittances and then go to my transmit tab, you'll see now I have the second transmission available for that reduced EI, separate from the regular EI. So that's how you would handle those. Then I wanted to also circle back to the T4 adjustment options and reconciliation. So that was under worksheets. So there's a T4 adjustment options. This comes in from what you've set up in your options profile. And I have an audit message here because it's saying I'm not using what I have set up in my options, and that's fine. I'm just going to clear that for now. But if you wanted to use something different than what you had set up in your options, you can change that for this one specific file, like I just did, and clear the audit message and carry on working. You'll see at the bottom of this form, there's a comparison versus actual. And in my case, I didn't have any variances in this file. But if I were to create one, so let's say we actually, let's go to Denise. So let's say we deducted more CPP than required, and we go back to our T4 adjustments, you'll see now it's going to show me the variance. So that's one place where you can see the variance. And also down here in the summary section, there's a T4 reconciliation. This will give me each individual employee that is rolling up into that T4 reconciliation. You can see there's my variance again, but it's also going to show me how that looks against my net pay, the actual money that we gave that employee. You can also adjust this by right-clicking up in the top, managing columns, and then all of these other columns are available to add to a report for whatever additional items you need to record and manage for those employees, just to make it easier. Everything you see in black here, you can input here. It's going to use that same information in the T4 slip. So you can also use this as a data entry form. That is also the same with the T4A slips here are similar. So anywhere where you see a layout like this, you can manage the columns. You can use this as an input table as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the T4 slips summary. I also just wanted to mention, you'll see too that my my memo and my tape also show over here for me, which is nice, as well as my review messages. But just also, if you have set up your columns in a way that works for the majority of your clients, you can also save the columns by right-clicking at the top in here, or revert to default here as well. And in the manage columns, you also have the option here again to save the default layout, and you can change your print orientation here as well if you're printing these for your permanent file. It's also very flexible. I can rearrange my columns as well. I guess I have to do that in here as well. So I can rearrange my column order simply by dragging and dropping those columns up in here. So it's a very handy type of summary, and I use them a lot personally, and I think that they really speed up processing time. Okay. SlipSync, that was the next thing we wanted to talk about. So you'll see up here in the data tab, there's the option to publish to SlipSync. So if I click on this, I can publish my T4s. It's going to drop all of those slips into my default folder where I set that up in my options. And if I click OK, we're going to go and we're going to open up a new T1. And I'll show you the magic of what happens with SlipSync. Get this over here. And so now if I go and put in a social insurance number for an employee that I saved to my SlipSync, it will go look in that folder and you'll see a message pop up at the top that there's one slip available for import. So I can import that T4 slip that I just created. It's going to give me a similar window to what you see for the AFR download. And I can either match it to an existing slip or create a new slip and click OK to import it. And now I've got that slip in here. No need to rekey it. I've already created it, and I'm just going to transfer that information in. So that's super handy. So we'll just close this T1 and go back to my file. So another way to SlipSync is in the print. So when we're printing the employee copy, for example, we have the option to, over here, if we have the option to check this box over here, publish to SlipSync. So when you're printing the employee copy, you can also select to save your SlipSync data this way as well. So that's another option. All right, so just quickly, just a reminder, we did talk about this in one of the other webinars in this series, I think in 2. There are templates out of the box that come with TaxCycle. They're in your correspondence section. So here we have the missing slips letter. If you want some other templates to get added in here, you can go into our tools and go to our template editor. I have to bring that over here. And then if I right click here and collapse all, I can go down to my T4 section and open that up. You can either create a new template in here or clone something from another section and save it in here. And then you can add additional correspondence. If you want an engagement letter or if you want a client letter, for example, you can add that in here as part of your correspondence. So that's another option for you as well, and something that it would be good to set up now ahead of the super busy season, although we're on the edge of it now. And then finally, I did cover the invoice template, which is in here as well. So we have a client invoice, if you wanted to use it, available within the module. Each module now has invoicing embedded and a payments worksheet as well. So we split payment worksheet out from the billing worksheet for the 2024 year. And finally, when you're done your file, we do have a locking option. So if you go in under security, everything's filed and put to bed, all your copies are printed, you can lock your file. And then that way, somebody can't inadvertently make changes to the file without having to first unlock it later. And that is everything I wanted to cover here in part 3. I will just quickly mention before I wrap up that there are some new processes for the internet transfer when you're filing your slips this year. So we're just working through some of the changes that CRA has made there. And we will, there's a post that has gone up on our website to describe the new process. And once we have all the changes made on our back end, I'll also be recording a video that we'll post on the website as well. So watch for that in your news items, and we'll explain what has happened there as soon as we have all of the updates in place. So for now, a little patience. It's not working as expected, but we will address it and are addressing it as quickly as we can. So that is everything. Take care, everybody, and I wish you the very best this filing season. Bye for now.